my thing on?
Is it on? I don't think.
Yep. All right, it is 7 p.m., March 25th, 2025. We'll call the City Council regular meeting to order. Would everyone please rise for the invocation given by Dan Sander, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful location in Eastpointe. We pray for our council. We pray for our friend, Mr. Curley, for his time. We just want to pray for him and his family also. And Lord, help us to do this meeting go smooth. I ask these things in thy name. Amen and amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, everyone. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Baker. Councilmember Curley.
Here.
Councilmember DeMonico.
Here.
Mayor Kleinfeld.
Here.
Councilmember Shadlick.
Here.
All right, moving on to approval of the agenda. Would anyone like to make a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All right. Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico.
Yes.
Councilmember Shadlick.
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes.
Mayor Kleinfeld.
Yes. All right, moving on to first hearing of the public. The first hearing of the public is open. Would anyone wish to be heard? Yep, just step up to the podium, state your name, and you have 3 minutes.
I don't know if this is the appropriate platform. My name is Loretta Darnell, and I've lived here for 30 years, and I'm very, very concerned about the high property taxes. Not only Eastpointe, but the whole state of Michigan is paying. I think we're one of the highest in the country. Last evening, I attended a town hall, and Senator Kleinfeld mentioned that it's part of our Constitution. So I was wondering if that has been on anybody's mind to bring that up to change the Constitution for our property tax calculations. It seems ironic that the only people buying homes in Eastpointe are people who are buying them to have them as rentals. So it's like every other house is a rental, and only some people are prospering. In other words, a young couple or an older person can't really come in because of the high property taxes. They are going to not inherit, they'll probably get scalped the next year. And that's it.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Hi, Jennifer Nicholas, Eastpointe resident. I have some questions. I'm kind of wanted some clarification on the recreational marijuana ordinance and how the first and second readings of ordinances work. The first ordinance reading on this was February 18th, and at the first hearing of the public, Attorney David Rudoy, who represented Holistic Health, asked for hours to be extended until 10 p.m. on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and 11 p.m. on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday to avoid Detroit having a competitive advantage because Detroit's ordinance allows them to stay open till 10, although some of these establishments in Detroit actually close at 9 o'clock. Attorney Aaron Geyer, who represents Moses Roses, stated that Detroit and Roseville should allow later hours, or they have later hours than 8 p.m., which diverts traffic away from Eastpointe. So they would also like to stay open till 10 p.m. during the heart of the week, Sunday until Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday stay open until 11. Attorney Brian Etzel, who represented Common Citizens, said he concurred with his fellow attorneys on the hours mentioned. Mayor Kleinfeld read the agenda item, and Councilwoman Shadlick jumped right in and made a motion to change the hours to 10 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and 11 p.m. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, inexplicably giving later hours on Sunday, which they weren't even asking for. Second ordinance reading was done on March 4th, and at that first hearing of the public, Holistic Health, the owner, his contractor, and attorney talked about eliminating the December deadline for opening. No one even mentioned business hours. When the motion to approve the ordinance was read, Councilwoman Shadlick seemed confused and stated that for Sunday through Thursday, she had thought that you all agreed on midnight for closing hours. Mr. Albright stated that according to his notes, the hours were supposed to be till 11 p.m., but Councilwoman Shadlick said she recalled midnight. So she made an amendment to make the hours until what she said was 12 p.m., which actually would be noon. After you all approved it,
You have 30
it was
seconds.
pointed out that she probably meant midnight. My issue is that when you do first and second readings of the ordinances, I thought that part of the, ideally, it should give residents at least one opportunity to give feedback before you make a decision, but in this case, it's kind of like you did an end run, getting that midnight hours in there without having it printed on the agenda or having any discussion among residents. And I'm wondering,
Thank you.
you know, if we could get another reading on that or maybe revisit that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Council. I'm Mary Howell Rayford, Eastpointe. I wasn't going to say anything until Jennifer reminded me of some things we discussed. But before I say anything, welcome back, Mrs. Doom. Glad to see you sitting here. Looking forward to what you're able to do with the state in the interim. I think everyone knows the marijuana issue, where I stand on that. And it makes no sense to me why we have to stay open later than anybody else. I heard someone say, and it made sense to me, if you haven't gotten what you wanted by 10, you probably shouldn't need it. Just by way of thinking beyond the politics of it all. We're living in a time, a really dire time, actually, and I know a lot of people are paying attention to national news. I can't escape it, even if I wanted to. But we have to be more than about pursuit of money, because it seems to me the pursuit of money is causing all sorts of problems in our politics. We need to take stances that support the majority of the citizens wherever we are. And until we do that, we're dangerously close to signaling fascism is okay. I don't know what you think about that. I'm going to keep speaking out against it and against anyone who wants to take freedoms and rights away from marginalized groups. I will not stand for that. This is a time where we all need to stand together regardless of whether Republican or Democrat, and let Washington know we are not going to put up with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard?
Good evening, Council. John Solera, Kelly Road. It's ridiculous to characterize President Trump and Republicans as fascists. It's totally out of line. I don't know where that nonsense comes from, but it does come. I see it all the time. But it's absolutely out of bounds. Mr. Mayor, I was down at 8th and Woodward about a month ago because I get my car service there, my Subaru, and I see that they've got poles in the road for bike lanes. I don't know how moronic these people can get, but they can't, you know, I guess they just can't throttle themselves because it's the most moronic thing I've ever seen with these road diets. welcome to the new city manager, and what I'm about to say has nothing to do with you. But at $175,000 a year, we also have an assistant city manager. You have an department. What I wonder is, why do we need any of you? What's with this double layer of government? I don't get it. It's just a waste of money. To the young lady here, there are proposals to get rid of property taxes, and the Democratic Senate is sitting on a tax bill to cut your taxes, but won't touch it, and you won't get it from Democrats. All these proposals come from the Republicans, and you will not get it from Senator Kleinfeld. So this government here in Michigan is extremely fat. You need to get rid of the DI department. You need to get rid of the downtown department. And the last thing I will say is you need to get ready for new style elections. President Trump is signing executive orders today, maybe tomorrow, I don't know exactly when, but the elections are going to change. And you better be ready for it. I would direct the city manager to take an interest in that, and I don't know who the city clerk is, but they're going to change, whether you like it or not.
You have 30 seconds.
The last thing I will say is it looks like we're paying bills tonight. I would like a report on the deficit, and I want to know why, if you're paying bills, all I get is this stinky piece of paper. I don't get any information on what you're paying to who, and how much. How about some transparency? And thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I have something to read into the record from the Fair Housing Center of Metropolitan Detroit, if I may.
Was that just emailed in?
March 6th. Did you get it also? Can I email it to everybody?
You could just email it to everyone. I wouldn't want to read it into the record. I know that we did that during COVID, but during the hearing of the public, we can add that to the agenda as like a receive and file or something like that.
Thank you.
Thanks. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
That didn't count on my time, did it?
No, it didn't.
Karen Moragin, Eastpointe resident. Oh boy, laundry list here, lots of comments. I believe it's our DC Hambright. There's a couple of things these officers you need to address. Saturday evening between 6:17 and 6:30, your officer ignored a warning letter that our city attorney had wrote a very extensive warning letter to 4 different renters/parents, listed numerous ordinances for their children not to engage in. So one of them was playing ball in the street, and your officer didn't want to listen to me reading it verbatim. Instead of, doing his job, he decided he was going to play football in the street with them, and then no ticket, no warning, no, telling the parents, look, the warning letter's been sent, this can't happen. At least to the best of my knowledge, there was no warning. He just told them, take it down the street. Well, you know what? We're not paying taxes for officers to encourage, ordinance violations, go break the law down the street. One of your lieutenant command officers a couple of weekends ago told non-emergency dispatch he was refusing to send officers out to a dog that was outside barking for hours, and the temperature was under 43 degrees. His reason why he didn't send officers out, it's nice outside. No, wrong. This is your responsibility. You're next in line when Chief Haynes isn't around, so this needs to be corrected. I know officers have discretion, but you don't abuse it. You don't, refuse to do your job and suck up to those who break the law. And, they're criminals, they lie to the cop's face and they ignore direct evidence. It's ridiculous. Moving on. So for those who are fed up with John James not doing anything to hold Trump and Musk accountable, Alex Hawkins is a Democrat. He's a military vet. He is running against John James. He has a campaign kickoff this Saturday at the VFW.
You have 30 seconds.
11 to 2. Last of all, contact the DNR, 517-284-9493. Tell them you do not want coyote hunting year-round. Coyotes are natural predators of rats, and you don't want orphan coyote pups. And I will leave you with this. Say hell no to fascism and oligarchy. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else? Seeing none, the hearing of the public is closed. We'll move on to approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion for the minutes for March 4th, 2025?
Sure. Mr. Mayor, I would move that we accept the minutes of the regular meeting for March 4th, 2025.
Support that.
All right. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes?
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Mayor Kleinfeld,
Yes.
Councilmember Shadlick,
Yes.
All right, no scheduled hearings or unfinished business. So we'll move on to reports from administration, and we will turn it over to our interim city manager, Ms. Doon.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you all hear me? Okay, now can you hear me? All right. I'd like to share that we have a small business resource fair coming up here at City Hall on April 30th from 10 to 2 p.m. So Eastpointe's Economic Development Department invites small business owners affected by the construction on 9 Mile Road and Gratiot Avenue to learn about resources available to support their company. We have a link below, which is out in the hallway. You can also call us here and ask, yep, you've got it, great. We know that it's really a tough time for businesses to kind of thrive and survive when major road construction is happening. So we want to do our part. It is a luncheon. It's sponsored by CDC, Small Business Finance. Again, April 30th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Feel free to call City Hall for any information. We don't expect you to all memorize this. Just know that we're here to help. Talking about 9 Mile Road, they're moving pretty quickly. They're moving at a faster pace than we haven't even anticipated, which is really positive, and fingers crossed that the weather holds and they can continue getting that road repair done. And for those of you who've gone down Gratiot today, they were digging out sidewalk for most of our entire section here. They're also working very quickly. We're fortunate that our weather's holding. Hasn't been too terribly cold, hasn't been a lot of rain. So, the better the weather, if Mother Nature's good to us, we can get this project done. I'd also like to share that there is a Women's Business Builder Boot Camp. It is primarily for people who are, thank you, holding that up out there. It's primarily for new businesses, but also businesses who haven't been in business that long that might need a little bit of extra help, a little bit of guidance. It's going to be in Roseville at 18185 Sycamore Street. It will be every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m., April 17th through May 22nd. So what we'd like to do is, women who are interested in opening their businesses or are new to business and want to connect with other business people, want to get started, just know that we really, really want to be able to help, this to support all Macomb County residents. So there's quite a bit. Naturally, if you are savvy, there's a scan that you can do, but also we have our flyers. So we want to help businesses, women in business, all businesses, and those who are affected most by all the construction we have. And although it is a little frustrating to see, down to one lane, I do remember us saying fix the roads. So now they are getting fixed, and it's a little bit uncomfortable for us, but in the long run, it'll really benefit not only the community, our businesses, our residents, but anyone passing through Eastpointe. And that's my report for this evening.
All right, does anyone have any questions?
Welcome back, Elke.
Thank you.
No question.
Just
No,
comment?
no,
Yeah,
just, welcome back.
Same, welcome back. Glad to have you here.
Okay. The Small Business Resource Fair is April 30th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. here in City Hall. Yeah. You're welcome.
All right, we will move on to our Finance Director's report, Mr. Blum.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. You should have received an email. Councilman DeMonico made a request to have all the budget amendments added to the transparency section. I was able to get last year's and this year's uploaded, so they are up there, ready to go, and all future ones will be added as we go. As far as transparency, the payroll and bills is available online. In an attempt to not create more bills, we don't print them. It's just more paper. But everything's available online, and you can pull it up and take a look at it. And a personal pet peeve of mine, 9 Mile construction, there is no left turn in either direction. And if you're arrogant enough to make a left turn and create a quarter-mile backup, well, keep my opinion to myself, but I wish you guys could write a few tickets on that one. So that's all I got.
All right, any questions? All right, we'll move on to our City Attorney's report, Mr. Albright.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Elke, on behalf of the City Attorney's Office, welcome back.
Thank you.
And in light of this evening's closed session, I'll reserve my further comments at that time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to our new business. Item A, approval purchase of 2024 Silverado 2500 double cab. Does anyone want to make a motion?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, I'll motion we purchase a 2024 Chevrolet 2500 pickup truck using the My Deal contract MA 241191.
Support.
All right, any questions on that? Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Councilmember Shadlick,
Yes.
Mayor Kleinfeld,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
All right, moving on to item B, approval of resolution number 25-2000, approving the Lutheran Fraternities of America Society 57 Club's liquor license application.
Mr. Mayor, I would move that we approve the resolution number 25-2000, providing local legislative approval for the Lutheran Fraternities of America Society 57 application for a club liquor license, Sunday sales permit, and a dance entertainment permit from the Michigan Liquor Control Commission.
Is there a second?
I'll support.
All right, any questions on this?
I had a question. I'd emailed earlier, City Manager Doom. What's the actual, usually I think we have like a resolution. There's not like a resolution included, it's just like the application for them. So I just wanted to make sure we were approving the,
Yeah, we do
The right
have,
thing.
we have their form of a resolution. It looks a little different than ours. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth page in. It's a little hard to see because it's in quite small print way at the top. But in talking with our Assistant City Manager, she has shared with me that they would like us to use their form, not our standard resolution form, so.
okay, just as part 5?
Yeah. part
So
five.
we're just endorsing that? Okay. Okay, good, that makes sense.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember Shadlick,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Mayor Kleinfeld,
Yes. All right, item C, approval and acceptance of Michigan Department of Natural Resources Land and Water Conservation Fund grant funds for Kennedy Park. Would anyone like to make a motion? Or open up with any questions or discussion?
All right. right, Mr. Mayor, I'll motion we approve and accept the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Land and Water Conservation Fund grant for improvements to Kennedy Park and further authorize the city manager to sign all necessary documents.
Support.
All right. Does anyone have questions on this one? Please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Mayor Kleinfeld,
Yes.
Councilmember Shadlick,
Yes.
Item D, approval and acceptance of Michigan Department of Natural Resources and Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund for improvements to Spindler Park and matching funds. Again, would anyone like to make a motion or open this up for discussion?
Well, if I'm understanding this correctly, Mr. Mayor, we're, in the back of the page, it says recommended motion, then it has three choices of what the council would suggest. Is that correct?
Yes. Do we have anyone from administration that would like to kind of just briefly speak to this? Probably would have been Ian's.
Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to help you. So the Spindler Park DNR grant was applied for and requires matching funds. It should be noted that the enhancements are to the walking trail, the walking path, which of course around Patriot Building has 3 different surfaces, which is very uncomfortable. We did have an ADA report done, assessment and report done last year, and Spindler, which is our largest park and most visited, is also the lowest in terms of ADA accessibility. So the administration did apply for this. It should be noted that there's been no DNR park funding in Eastpointe since 1999, again from Mr. McCain, to his credit. Also, Amy O'Leary from SEMCOG has a huge supporter. She's the executive director. She recommended, she supported, she urged that the DNR support the Justice 40 communities, specifically Eastpointe and Warren. So each of the cities received a grant. This one will add the solar lighting, the accessibility, some other improvements to make it, again, a better park for the residents. It does have the matching funds of about $350,000.
Mr. Mayor, I think one note, because I had the same confusion initially looking at the packet, the part with the 3 options is for the previous agenda item because it's a sheet from a previous meeting and is part of the notes. Yeah, so go past that part. So then it's the, because it's also in March, so that it looks like it's the right date, but it just happened to be March 2024. It's the next one, March 2025. But yeah, that was all I wanted to add in for now.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, yes, Councilmember is correct. I'm sorry for the confusion. Yes, a year ago, council had a special meeting and there were 3 grants that were applied for with the idea that we would see what we could find and then matching grants, if needed, would be made available or approved if needed by council at that time. So the different options were discussed. The Parks Commission was involved. I know Chair Sasek was here and talked about some of the different options, the ones that were preferred by the Parks Commission.
Yeah. All right. Would anyone like to make a motion on this item? If not, I will make a motion to approve and accept the Michigan Department of Natural Resources grant funding for Spindler Park. Approve the allocation of required matching funds in the amount of $350,400 and further authorize the city manager to execute necessary documents. Is there support? Does anyone have any comments on it?
Well, the only question I have is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 suggestions for Spindler Park, Kennedy Park, and the Shamrock Park. Are those exclusive of what your motion, or are you just making a motion to accept the money?
So those were, I believe you're looking at what was part of our previous conversation.
Well, I'm looking at the memo that I've got in a packet, yeah.
Yeah, that was included as sort of, I guess, referring to past actions. That was our past agenda item. So if you go a little bit further in the packet, we have a recommended motion, I guess brief and recommendation for today's purposes. I can hand it over if he'd like to see the page I'm looking at. That's the current.
Okay.
This is what he's made a motion for now.
Gee, it's funny I didn't get that. Okay.
Any comments? Please call the roll.
Thank you. Mayor Kleinfeld,
Yes.
Councilmember Shadlick,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico,
No.
All right, moving on to item E, approval for plan for new police department 38th District Court facilities. Would anyone on council like to open up with any comments?
Actually, Mr. Mayor, before moving right on to this, one quick comment I wanted to make, and I forgot until now, but now I'm trying to click around on my agenda packet. Usually when the packet is exported, it's got like all the bookmarks in it. For some reason, there's no bookmarks this time, so I guess if we can just look at that next time. I've got a sheet now where I gotta type in what page number instead of, it's hard to find through 96 pages. But that's all, yeah.
I have little stickies.
Okay.
I'm not sure I know what you mean by bookmarks.
Just because I'm using the electronic one.
Oh, you're
just
using a
to click,
computer. Yeah,
yeah.
okay. All right.
So.
I don't have a computer, so. Okay.
All right, for item E, regarding the new police department and 38th District Court, would anyone, I guess, like to open with any comments on this?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to open up. I think, so of course we had the town hall. I think some of you were out there. That was great to learn more. And I guess for me, I just want to make sure that we discuss everything before we get too far. And I had just a couple things I brought up with the city manager via email, but I think are at least worth discussing before going too much further. One item, and I think, well, maybe I'll start with the smaller item, I guess, first. No, actually, I'll go with the bigger one first. About including the fire department in the building. So, of course, right now it's just police and court. The fire department is in an older building, of course, also. In good shape now, of course, and they take good care of it. And we've been doing pretty good maintenance, and I don't think, as far as I understand, I don't know, maybe city admin would disagree. It seems like maintenance costs aren't super high. But in like 10 years will it be different, or 20? I was just trying to think further down the line. What are the pros and cons? And obviously other people would know more about that than I, like the people that, are there 24 hours a day, or our city administrators. So I just thought it'd be at least worth discussing and that sort of thing before we go too much further in the plans. I didn't know what other council members thought.
So I saw administration respond to that. I think there was concern about the space. I know our previous design on Stevens included it, but I don't remember if that's a smaller space or larger one than the one we're working with now.
I did happen to look at that. It is a slightly smaller space on Stevens, and we did have plans drawn up in 2016 that included a fire station. So I think we should be able to. I don't know, we talked, or I've mentioned, if we did more floors also, you'd have a smaller floor print. It'll obviously be different pricing, whatnot, on how, I don't know, I don't build buildings, so I don't know exactly, but I'm pretty sure we could, I think we could look at that. I don't know, it's just like one sentence response, so I don't know. I think we should be able to look at that, I guess, is all I'm saying.
I guess my response would be that AEW has been working on I'm going to say blueprints, that's probably not the right word, but would that be all right?
Design.
The blueprints for the police department and the court building for months and months at an exceptional price, and we've had public hearings on the blueprints, and I don't know if we were going to think about adding the fire department to the other two. It probably should have been discussed and seriously looked at 9 or 10 months ago. Tonight, we're ready to vote on acceptance and approval of what we've been looking at for months and months and months. So I don't know how we could change that.
Any other comments?
Sure, if I could add a little more. Yeah, I guess, well, sure, ideally, Councilman Curley bringing it up back then would be the most ideal, but also before we've started construction also is good. I think we can, take a little extra time. I was reviewing the minutes from the 3 committee meetings that happened to see if it was really discussed, and it doesn't seem like we even discussed it all. I thought maybe we had internally or something outside of those committee meetings, or I just don't think it really was discussed at all. So I think, I just thought, even if we do go forward somewhat shortly from now without it, just figured we should definitely be discussing it and at least considering it before that point.
So can I, Ms. Holman, it looked like you might have had something you wanted to.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if I may. First of all, we have Jason Arlo, who's the VP of Architecture at AEW, and so he can speak, he can sit here, but also, yes, the conversations were had with fire. From me, they're very happy where they are, and also we've been told, and Jason can tell you more, but the amount of land that would be needed for the fire trucks to be able to turn around the property, we just don't have that. So, sir.
Thank you very much.
Before you get started, could I jump in real quick? Back in 2016, when we were looking at that parcel, it's kind of a long parcel, and it had a spur road coming in off of Hofer, and that's where the fire trucks were going to come in to go to the fire station portion. And we also had very limited public parking in the design because the overflow was going to be at the military museum. So this parcel with all of the parking doesn't really afford much room for additional building space. So, but I'll let him take over. I just wanted to point that out from 2016.
The drawings from them do not have any overflow at the military museum.
It wasn't on the drawing because it was already there. We had the building and the parking and all of that. But if you look at what the parking that was going to be out front, it was very limited compared to the current drawings that AEW has for this building.
Well, I'll turn it over to AEW for.
Okay, thank you again. My name's Jason Arlo with AEW. Sorry, I can't really see everybody. I apologize. But Jason Arlo with AEW, Director of Architecture. I've been working with the team on this project for quite some time now. Unfortunately, Matt Burge, who you're probably used to seeing, was unavailable tonight, so I'm here to fill in. But I think I can at least hopefully bring some context and answer the questions to the best of my ability. I guess as far as the question of the site, I can't really speak to the 2016 site. I don't believe we were involved in that. I don't know if we were, but it's not familiar to me. So I cannot speak to that site or the size. I can tell you by looking at this, I do know parking has been limited to what we're getting on here. But one item that would be of concern, and I believe Randy just brought it up, would be the turning radiuses of the fire trucks. They do take pretty wide turns. Apparatus bays can be fairly large building footprints that would also need to be incorporated into that. So if you're asking me sitting here right now looking at this, do I believe it would fit? I can't definitely say no, but it looks like it would certainly be very challenging. And looking at it, I don't think it would. But again, I'm just going off of what I'm looking at right now. This is the first time I've had a chance to really react to it.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I did have a conversation with Matt Burge.
Sure.
So I had a conversation with him that we would need about 50% more land than we have right now. There was the option to purchase the small parcel just to the west of that, but his review was that that was not enough land. Again, the issue is, as Mr. Arlo pointed out, was the turning and the ability for the fire trucks to get in and out.
And I would also, I guess, mention, I don't know, a lot of times fire stations, what we look at when we're designing those and siting those is where they need to be located, right? They're a little more strategic on where they need to be, the roads they're pulling out on, how quickly they can make, destination to certain points of the city. So I can't speak to what this site would do, but I think that would probably be a great question for your fire department. Is it in the right spot today? And maybe it is. I don't know.
It's a block over, so.
Okay. But again, streets, crossroads, what you're pulling out on could all affect
same
their timing.
street.
So just something I would definitely discuss with the fire department.
Mm-hmm. According to Google Maps, the fire department's on like a 0.62 acre lot. And now with us having bought the buildings right next door to the current police and court, we now have essentially doubled the size and we've got 3.17 acres. Just looking at that right now, so.
So I guess my understanding before tonight's meeting was also that there had been sort of internal conversations and that the fire department during those committee meetings, I think, wasn't interested in really moving and being a part of the complex. And I think that's part of the reason we went in the direction we did. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Can I clarify? Well, on the three committee meetings, it was never discussed at all the public committee meetings.
Okay. It must have just been, I guess, sort of behind the scenes then, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess what I would suggest, I think with the issue about turning or having space for the trucks is a big one. I wouldn't mind saying or asking just for an official input from the fire department or something like that. Not something lengthy or anything, but I think we got a response from Ms. Doom to your email. But just so that information's shared with everyone. And I also think maybe before we approve the building, we might want to have Rob here too, to vote on that. I mean, my position at this point is probably keep it where it is, because we put a lot of improvements into it. And my other question was going to be, is there anything on the horizon in the fire department that's major that we would expect soon? I don't know if Randy, you'd be able to speak to that at this point.
AEW is in process of working on, they got to replace some plumbing and redo the bathrooms. That is about ready to go out for bid and will probably be at a May meeting where you approve it. But that's the last major thing we're aware of.
Okay, do you have any idea off the top of your head how expensive?
We're guessing about $150,000.
Okay. Just because the extreme example, if we approved this plan and then you came to us a year later and said we have to tear the fire department down, I'd be mad, so.
Yeah, I've been in the station. I think they take very good care of it. But I can't tell you I saw anything like structurally that I would be really concerned about when I was there looking for this particular project a little while ago. I went on site, met with the fire department, looked at the plumbing to see what may have to be done, but I didn't notice anything.
Well, I think we did
that
the
would concern me
roof
structurally.
not too long ago, and then heating and cooling, I don't know what the situation is over there. That's the only thing I'd probably be majorly concerned about.
Yeah, we've done all the heating and cooling over the past couple of years. There's some cracks in the bay floors that have been fixed. The roofs have been done. We'll call it the living space upstairs has been redone. The kitchen's been remodeled. So pretty much everything, well, the plumbing kind of came out of the woodwork, but that actually allows them to create individual restroom areas, shower restroom areas, so you can go to a unisex setup that is not available right now. And then the office space on the first floor would be the only thing left for any renovation. Where'd our firefighter go? He should be up here. He disappeared, okay.
I have a question.
Good.
It's with respect to the funding, because I know we received some funding from, Senator Kleinfeld had obtained some funding for us, and I believe it was towards the courthouse, correct? Would that negate this because we are including police and fire? Is that going to be a problem? Anybody know?
I don't think so, but I mean,
I'm just
seems
curious.
like a good question
I'm
to have
just
answered.
curious. And then the reason we had to vote on it tonight, would that be because it's tied to the funding and we have to do that within a certain time parameter? I'm just curious about that as well.
Mr. Mayor, I'm right here. It's our understanding that it has to do more with the weather and getting this RFP out and being able to move forward. I don't know if hand know what the deadline is for the funding, but we wanted to get going on this.
Yeah, I think, it's going to take some time to finish the documents, get it submitted to the building department, other authorities having jurisdiction, get approvals, et cetera.
Well, I know for me, one of the things I wasn't sold on was getting rid of the basement, but before bringing that up, I guess I'd like to ask, what does the rest of council feel on that particular issue?
What, the basement?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not a basement guy, so, I look at these contracts and I look at the professional people. I don't know why we would debate, do we want a basement or we don't want a basement? Because you're going to have to say, Harvey speaking now, I want a basement. Well, Harvey, why do you want a basement? You've got professional engineers and architects and professional people who are working on this, and they don't think a basement's necessary, so.
Well, I know that sorry, go on.
Okay. Well, yeah, when I was reviewing the minutes from those committee meetings, I did see there was like a small discussion on if the amount of staffing changes, expands at any point. Will it be too tight, or will we have room to even do that? Right now, all of the storage is on floors 1 and 2, right? We have nowhere to expand if at any point we need like an extra room or two for anything, really, I think, is kind of how I felt when I looked at the plans. And I was at the first of the 3 committee meetings. So that just makes me nervous because we don't know what is going to happen down the road. I mean, obviously, we hope that everything becomes digital, but I know for a fact from my personal full-time job that is certainly not happening overnight or even in the next couple of years, that everything will just be digital. So we're going to have plenty of papers, and of course the police department's going to have evidence and such, and there will be, reason for a lot of storage like that. And I think if we expand beyond anything here, there's nowhere to go. Or if, I don't know, I guess we're talking about the fire department, one day, say it's 40 years from now or something, where do we, you know, how would we redo the fire department? There's not just a, I don't know, maybe the, you know, dollar store goes out of business and we get lucky again like we did this time and we're able to buy the neighboring property. But if we're not, you know, we'd need to do something at that point too. And just having a little extra room, that's at least why I initially brought it up. But it seems like some other people were concerned in some of these minutes too. And I think it was $1.6 million in here. That seems like, I mean, it's a lot, but in terms of, you know, for a 50-year building and how helpful that could be, it seems like a good idea. Actually, the shooting range costs more. So to me, it seemed like having some space in the basement, and certainly no offices in the basement. Let's not have offices in the basement, please, as we do now. But for storage and other reasons, I think it seems like it makes sense right now.
I mean, to me, it seemed prudent too. And then also, I think it can also serve as kind of like a shelter space if that's ever needed, to have a basement area, which would make sense to me to have in the public safety building. Yeah. Especially given that you never know if you're going to have a building full of juries and people and things like that, so. I'm sorry, you had, I think, a list of things you wanted to go through, though, so I don't know.
Well, it was like two big things, so that was the first. And then, yeah, the biggest one by far for sure was the first question. Second one was more about just like, just energy options, like renewable energy. We hadn't like discussed that at all. I know, like, you know, the state capitol installed geothermal, you know, and I know other cities have done that for their city halls. How are we, you know, offsetting that? I don't think we considered that at all. You know, I think, you know, we could put a bunch of solar on top. You know, there's different options. I don't know what all the options would be, but I think it'd be at least worth considering, and trying to be like, you know, a leader in terms of trying to just, you know, get more people to go green and, you know, respect the environment in the community, but also, you know, I think, you know, we could be a leader in our area in terms of this, you know, other municipalities. So I thought maybe we could consider that. I don't think, at least at those 3 committee meetings, that was really discussed, I don't think. But I didn't know if maybe our architects or city administration had any thoughts on that. I know there's the charging stations for vehicles were discussed, but not for the building. Yeah.
If you have any thoughts on that, I think you're probably just getting hit with these questions right now, so.
I don't mind sharing my thoughts.
Sure, go ahead.
If you'd like to hear. As far as a lot of the green possibilities, those are certainly always possibilities. We have not yet engaged any of our mechanical, electrical, or plumbing engineers yet, because we would like to know that we're going in the right direction, right? Just to be efficient before we really get them involved. They could certainly bring a lot of context to that conversation, but it's like in any process, it's certainly a possibility if that's the wish. It does come with typically some possibly more upfront costs, right? I will say, you know, we do our buildings, you know, we believe it's good practice to design good envelopes, well insulated, you know, low or high efficiency equipment, things like that, low flow fixtures. We just find that that's just good design that we would do. But if you wanted to elevate that to more of the systems that were discussed, I would say the appropriate time, in my opinion, to really get into that would be with the engineering team, the MEP guys, who really dig into that, and we could look at that. But like I said, normally we won't engage them heavily until we know we have a good solid concept for the building footprint, for the plans, like the things you see in front of you today. So.
And I think from a financial standpoint these days, in the long term, you end up saving money. It's cheaper, at least. I mean, I have solar panels on my house from 10 years ago, and now it's basically, it's not a $0 electric bill, but it's not a very high electric bill, and they're all paid off, and I've made my money back on that. So I imagine, 10, 15 years later here, you can get a lot more for your money. So, yeah, I think, I guess like geothermal and stuff, I don't know like anything about that, and, can that even be done, or how much space do you need? I guess like a basic question like that, we don't need, something too in-depth, or how much space on, obviously there will be things on top of the roof, but is there space for solar panels? Let's see, the south side of the roof would be the front, part on 9 Mile. So that's where you'd want to have the panels. Could we have, a lot of panels there that maybe would offset the electric bills?
Yeah, any flat roof could certainly be looked at as a potential. Like you said, south is usually the best facing for those.
But yeah, it's flat, yeah, yep.
Yeah, there is some flat in the back of the roof. Yeah. As far as geothermal, you'd have to look at a vertical system. They do have horizontal and vertical systems. The horizontal obviously take up a lot of space. They do wells where they drill, like almost like you're drilling a water well, right? You drill a well, and they run vertically. The only some downsides of that is, with the site, with the parking that's needed, you'll probably be under pavement, and if something, which sometimes, right, things do break, and you're tearing up pavement. So certainly could be some maintenance costs that could be legacy costs there that would be needed consideration.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
Excuse me. So you mentioned that you didn't mind answering questions. A basement's been brought up by two of the council person and the mayor. Can you explain to us why a basement wasn't considered?
Well, I know it was certainly an item that was talked about quite a bit, if I remember correctly. I was not at all of the discussion meetings, so I can't speak to that. I don't know if Randy, you could help me with the discussion, why it was decided not to, but I don't have the information exactly why they decided not to.
Yeah, I mean, after our visit to the Shelby Court, the design had more than sufficient space based on the needs of the court. And even in the town hall, the judge mentioned that the records in the basement had been flooded and damaged. And that was another reason, is just not having a hole in the ground to collect water.
Well, that doesn't necessarily happen. If they're building a new house, you're not going to say, well, I remember a guy in another town had his basement flooded, so let's not build a basement. So that's really not that's not a legitimate
I know, reason. But it was also the cost. I mean, you got to look at how much it was going to cost. So if they have enough space upstairs for the court, and you do have that potential if you have stuff stored down there, but it's not our call. That's what the 4U.
Yeah, I mean, it was brought up for discussion. It was kind of brought up to us. I don't think that was really an engineering decision. It was brought to council as one of the items. Do you want this or do you not? Sort of like the animal control situation in the gun range. So I would prefer to see there still be a basement, especially because, I mean, the room expansion is needed. And I guess fingers crossed, maybe down the line, the state's going to give us a second judge, which might need additional, I don't think a ton more staff, but at least a little bit. Potentially. So I think just having sort of, I don't want to build a building and we're not looking forward to needs it might have in the future, save a little bit now and then kind of shoot ourselves in the foot. So I would like to see the basement included, but I agree with the animal control not being there at this point. I know there were some questions on fire. I guess just knowing that there's the issues with the trucks, I don't know that that is possible, but I guess at this point, we have, our next meeting's 1 week from now, I believe.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Next Tuesday.
I'm okay with us, I mean, that doesn't seem too far away if there's some questions that anyone wants to get answered. I think I know where my vote pretty much stands, but I'd be okay with tabling it to that meeting.
You mentioned the animal control. I do have a question. It said, it is recommended that the animal control facility remain on 10 Mile Road. I'm always curious when they have something like that on there, who recommended it? I would have liked to send, Harvey Curley recommends that blah, blah, blah. So if it said it's recommended, who recommended it?
Last I recall, I believe it was, as I recall, it was the police officer Haynes had recommended it.
That is,
Police Chief Haynes had recommended it, as I recall.
oh, we got reinforcements. So, no. So you said the police department recommended it stays there at the DPW, is that right?
That was our recommendation at a previous meeting, yeah.
Okay.
At a previous.
I don't have a problem with it, I'm not fond of somebody saying it's recommended. I said, well, who recommended it? I didn't. But if the police recommended, that's fine.
I think it was, like I
Okay.
said, Police Chief Haynes. I know he's not here right now, but I believe he was the one who recommended it.
All right. So if we delay this till next week, 7 days, and we're going to talk, it sounds like we're going to talk about the basement. Maybe someone can get a cost by then, right?
It's over $1 million.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I think we had some, we had that cost.
Yeah, 1.6 million's the estimate we have from January for the basement, Councilman Curley. Oh wait, we already did that. That's the demo. Yeah, it was 1.7 million for the firing range and 678,000 for the animal control. If we were to.
If we were going to move it, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, well, what does council think at this point?
Well, I have a feeling that half the people sitting up here would like to postpone any decision until next week and have a chance to talk about it and get some information about a basement. So it's only 7 days, so I wouldn't have a problem tabling it until next week, but I would like to make sure that anybody and everybody that maybe ask a question is going to be here. Okay? They need to be here. I'm not going to name all of who I'm talking about, but anybody that we think that we might be asking a question of, they should be here. So make the agenda kind of short next week, will you?
I was going to even recommend, what if we did one more, 1 week is very short. And actually the agenda, actual packet will be posted on Friday. So really it's only like 2.5 days basically, because they'll post it on Friday.
Okay, so
Can
what
we
are you
just do the
suggesting?
meeting after? Yeah.
That actually is a smart idea, because there's another thing that you brought up too, that with respect to the court and the possibility of expansion. I know recently they did surveys at the courts. All of the courts had participated. The State Court Administrator's Office had done the overview. And I think those findings are trickling in. I'm just curious. I haven't reached out to judge or anything like that, but I'm wondering if the 38th District Court has heard anything on those. And, if there is a potential for an additional judge or anything like that, that might actually be something that we want to plan for or anticipate.
Well, what I would have, responding to your suggestion to make it 2 council meetings from now rather than next week, I shouldn't even say this out loud because I don't have alarms on my doors at my house. Well, I live on Wilmont anyway.
Well,
I live on Wilmont, for you who are writing this down. I'm going to be in Florida picking blueberries, so I won't be here for that meeting.
So 3 meetings from now then.
That would put it at the end of April.
First
No.
May meeting?
May, 1st of May.
But I do think that there are some questions that, you know, especially if we are contemplating, you know, fire as well, basement. I mean, there's a few questions. There really are.
Well, Mayor, I don't have a problem tabling this till May, but you know, if any of us didn't like one in the basement, was that mentioned to the committee? Give us a plan what it looks like if they had a basement. Was that discussed? I mean, did somebody come up there and say, I want to know what a basement looks like?
Well, sure. Yeah, actually, that first meeting I went to, Judge Galen brought it up, and then I mentioned it at some point when I was able to make comments during the meeting. And it was discussed a bit, but I think after kind of going back and forth here, I think it'd be good to see like a lot of this more in writing, not just the minutes from those meetings, because a lot of things were discussed, thrown about, and this is kind of how we came to it. But maybe these bigger things, like, you know, if we're asking for a $1.6 million basement, maybe we have like a city admin could give us some pros and cons or, you know, whatnot. And we decide from there, because right now we basically just have, it's $1.6 million, but, you know, not too much more info than some info from these minutes or what, you know, anyone recalls from those meetings. Same thing with like the firing range. And I was going to say, since that it seems kind of expensive to me, I think if we're going to do that, we should have other cities signed on to offset that cost, because 1.7 million, I think, is a lot for that. But then also like the fire department idea, some actual, you know, pros and cons for that May meeting, I think would be
For the what?
helpful for the May meeting. Just some like pros and cons, like written, you know, discuss it with the fire department, write up some pros and cons that we can discuss and then decide. Because right now, yeah, there's not a huge amount to go on.
So, okay, so the pros and cons of what we should do with the fire department would be us, not the professionals. I'm not a professional, okay? I mean,
Right.
we can write down as many questions as you want. If the fire department is happy and the administration is, I'm struggling, folks. I broke 3 ribs on Sunday, so I'm trying to, anyway, I appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I know that's coming from your heart. You're not just, you know, throwing water out there, but the only thing I would say, then I'm going to shut up because we're going to go on to the next item soon. This is something we're building that's going to be here way after I die. And it's another 10 years, folks, so don't get excited. But it'll be way after. You're right. You mentioned 50 years, so it's a long time. And maybe it shouldn't have been on the agenda. I don't know. But let's just we have that May meeting. I just hope none of us have a fairy tale list of things I want to do, you know, because at this point, we're 99% done with that building. Now, if we want to make some improvements and changes, we could do that, I suppose, but let's not come in here with a whole page of, oh, I think we ought to do this too. Well, why didn't we talk about that 9 months ago when we first thought about the building?
Well, and I think before we approve it finally, I think every member just wants to feel like we've looked at everything we should. I mean, realistically, we haven't had many discussions on this. We created a subcommittee and then plans came to us and we had that first public meeting we had, what was it, 3 weeks ago?
3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago.
Yeah, it was the first.
Was the first time we had any hearing on this whatsoever, and it's a major project. So I mean, that was our first time getting feedback from the public, so I don't think we're rushing through this. I know administration in that subcommittee has worked on it a lot longer. We haven't had many discussions on it up here. So I think by May, I would think we would have all the information and be ready to make decisions. I don't think any of us want to drag it out.
No.
But, we've only had it on a couple of our meetings, so.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yeah.
One of the things that AEW informed us, some of the questions that are being asked, other than fire department's desires, some of these questions, AEW needs the approval to move forward and bring in some of the other experts, as Jason said, mechanical, electrical, the engineers, to answer some of these questions that are being raised. So what we're really looking for is not so much the detailed design, because that can be changed as it moves forward, but it's the approval to move forward, to add these details, to add these other experts into the mix.
Yeah, so I apologize if any of you are really well-informed on architecture or construction, and I apologize for those of you who cannot see me.
Well, we can hear you.
I'm short, so, yeah, all 5'7" of me. So, well, anyway, so the process is that we would be looking to go to what's called design development. So that is the phase where we would actually sit down and talk to you about your HVAC systems, your renewable energy systems, your solar panel goals, these sorts of things that you want to flesh out further. What we've done so far is really a schematic design, which is we've shown you the footprint of the building, we've shown you the approximate arrangement of the rooms, we've proven that it can fit on the site, we've figured out how many parking spaces there can be. But we have not done anything like figured out the ceramic tiles or vinyl or polished concrete, whatever you would want on the floor. Yeah, we have a nice, pretty picture of the outside of what it might look like, but everything inside the building, apart from where the walls are, would be fleshed out in the next phase. And in that phase, you would have a lot of say in terms of what you want to do with that. And we're not necessarily putting it out to bid right away. The design development phase, how many months do you think that would take, Jason?
Sorry, yeah, a building like this, that could take 3 to 4 months. There's a lot of work to be done before this goes to a contractor to get construction prices, so.
If the question marks are about things like solar panels or HVAC systems, we would really need to bring in a mechanical, electrical engineer onto our team to give you that feedback and sit down with you and talk about what your goals are.
The one thing, guys, that you mentioned, bringing a list, which is fine, and I've asked the court and the police department on a number of occasions, I want to make sure that they're satisfied with what it's going to look on the inside. They work there every day, they will work there every day, and if there's some tweaking to do, I want to make sure at that May meeting that they have a opportunity to speak. And if there's some things that are just something that just takes all their hair off their head, that they ought to have an opportunity to tell us that. Since obviously it sounds like we're going to make the final decision. Regardless of what the AEW suggests and the police department suggests and the court suggests, we are going to make the three of us anyway, are going to make a final decision. So I would again plead with you that the agenda, and let's not say we'll have a special meeting starting at 6 o'clock, because it sounds to me like this might be only one of 2 items on the agenda. We've already taken half hour. And then, but I think we also better realize that we've got to make a final decision on any additions, that we have to do that in May and not say, well, let's come back in July again. We got to make a decision. That's it.
Mr. Mayor, I guess what was described by AEW just now is not consistent, I'd say, with the recommended motion here on the agenda, though. If we did do this recommended motion, to me, it makes it seem like we're just finalizing everything and then we're gonna hire a contractor to build it. So I guess I'd ask that maybe we should have a timeline of all this, and I guess if we do need, city administration is looking for different levels of approval from city council on the way through the building, that we do that in the timeline, because, yeah, I guess to me, why I'm especially asking questions today is I feel like if we motion for this, we're throwing the RFP out and, Mitten or BidNet Direct or whatever its name is now, and someone's gonna come and build it for us, just as it's drawn, on this sheet here, and then really there's no going back, other than minor details. So that's why I was, nervous to vote on anything now. I feel like we haven't quite gotten to the point where everyone's comfortable. So if we do need a middle authorization here, I'm certainly happy to consider that and vote on something like that, but I guess that's at least not what this recommended motion is to me.
So I think the two large items, before you go into the next phase, I know we talked about basement, and then Councilman DeMonico mentions, just wants to get feedback on the pros and cons of the fire being moved there. Those are two big things that I think you would need before the next phase, right? Correct. Those are part of this stage. The stuff like the solar and things like that, I understand those come next.
Yeah, well, I apologize if Mr. Arlo spoke before I got here, but as far, well, no,
Shame.
I sincerely apologize from the bottom of my heart, because, we don't like to let him out, but, no. I feel like I can speak to the fire department right now in that, and if he said this already, I apologize, but the site is too small for police, court, and fire as it is, because fire is going to require a lot of square footage for their radiuses, for their turnarounds, for their aprons, for the, for where the fire trucks come in. Those things have huge radii, right? So, and then the court requires a lot of space for their parking lot, okay? So basically, in my opinion, I've looked at the site for months in the design process. You can fit 2 out of those 3 functions on the site. You could put police and fire there. You could put police and court there. But I don't believe without additional property, you could put all 3 functions there. And we would be happy to look at it for you guys. We really would. But I'm just telling you, in my professional opinion, I don't think all those functions will fit on the site as it is now. So, but I'd be happy to look at it for you, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess from part of the discussion earlier before you were here, in 2016, we'd considered a public safety complex with all 3, and that site is slightly smaller than the current site. And we essentially doubled the space right now, so police and court, right, is on half the size, but of course this is part of the problem. The court building's smaller than it should be. We need a little more parking. But to me, it seems like going from, or like doubling the lot size and still doing police and court and then also fire, to me seems like there'd be, be a way to do it. And looking at these drawings from 2016, seems like it's, I get that the fire trucks are big and take a lot of turns, but, I think, they get down side streets and things. So I think we just need a little bit more space.
I would love to see those plans from 2016.
Okay.
For our purposes in terms of what research has been done, so.
Sure. And of course, right now, they pull in and pull out in the front. They don't pull through, obviously pulling through the building would be ideal. I'm pretty sure the fire department agrees with that. I don't think they like to have to turn around and back in on 9 Mile. So if that is possible, obviously that's preferred. But yeah, we can share those. Public documents.
I have a couple concerns about a fire department being in with police and court. especially with like, emergency runs and things like that, and the necessity of the fire trucks and the ambulances having to get out with court taking place and the noise. I mean, I'm sure Rich could speak to something like that, say having hearings and then all of a sudden you have the blasting of the horns and that's necessary for them when they leave.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any courthouses that have a fire department attached to them in the state of Michigan, off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I know.
I mean, I would think the
Police
noise.
sometimes that's done, but I'm not aware of any fire departments.
And then my concern, I guess, would be is if with the currently existing fire department, then that's another vacant building on 9 Mile, potentially. So that's my cons that I can think of off the top of my head.
Mr. Mayor, since everybody's commenting on the fire department again, I'll give you my opinion right now. I'm not interested in moving the fire department anywhere, and I really haven't heard a reason big enough to remove a fire department and put it in with the city hall or the police department and the court building. I haven't really heard a legitimate, in my opinion, the legitimate reason to do that. So we can do what we want in May, but you already got my opinion. So you could write it down if you want.
I mean, so we're essentially at the point, I don't think there's going to be, I'm not imagining that there's going to be support to move the fire department over. I don't mind questions being answered on that. I guess I'm trying to get to how much can we approve tonight so that you can move forward. If there is going to be potential for further discussion, I don't want to have you guys start working on something and then switch gears.
Yeah, I guess, if I may, moving the fire there is a big change, right? Mm-hmm. That's a big change. That certainly can be explored right out of the gate if we can answer that. I would say one item that me and Matt have been talking about is, and what we'd like to get is an okay to continue with the design process, right? Because we do have to get engineers that are not with AEW involved, right? For the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, we have to get them under contract. My concern is with speaking with the firms that we use. They are extremely busy, and I'd like to get them under contract so we can make sure that we hit timelines that have been talked about. So that is one of my concerns, and I'm not saying that to try to sway you into making a decision you're not comfortable with. I'm just letting you know that that would be one takeaway I would like to have tonight, is for us to continue with the design so we can officially get them under contract and get them at least get in their docket for this large design project.
When you say design, what do you mean by that? Changing the design inside the building?
No, I'm sorry. I'm not speaking to anything that you've seen per se. The systems of the building, right? It's going to have large mechanical systems that need to be designed, large electrical systems that need to be designed, plumbing systems that need to be designed. Those kind of things still need to be done, and there's quite a bit of work to do there. So I just wanted to give you that context.
Okay.
Before a contractor could bid this building, could build it for you, those items need to be addressed and designed.
So you're not talking about redesigning the inside of rooms and the walls?
Not at all, unless, and as Matt spoke to, the design process is pretty fluid, right? I mean, I could never sit here and tell you what you're looking at today is going to be your building in a year and a half or 2 years or whatever, right? Because as the design process continues, we continue to meet with stakeholders. A wall may get push the foot this way, pull the foot, right? That happens all the way up until the drawings go out to bid. So sometimes after, yeah, it depends on end users, but will it change dramatically from what you see today as far as architecturally? No, probably won't unless we had a fire station, right?
No, don't.
But, yeah, but other than that, there's a lot of engineering that needs to take place, so.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, one of you three had mentioned maybe we can take apart some of this stuff and approve it tonight. Good luck. What are you gonna take apart? If we're gonna meet again in the first meeting in May, let's just hold everything there till then, and except maybe the fire department. We don't have to talk about that. But unless you tell me right now what you want to take out of this motion and do it tonight instead of May, that's fine. But I don't know what you're going to do. And if you want to wait till May, I'll make a motion and we go on with it. I think we've talked enough about the project.
I guess the one alternative, I know that everyone wanted a bit more time. Do you think we might be able to have a discussion at the next meeting or before the one in May?
On what?
Is that just me being too pushy?
Are you asking me?
A little bit, because I guess the question would go, how quickly could any questions about the fire department? I know that I want to add a basement to the motion. Other than
that can be done with.
You do or don't, or what'd you say?
Heartache, if you wanted a basement.
Sorry. I was just gonna say, I'm frankly in like no hurry at all, because again, just 3 weeks ago was the first time we ever even had a chance to get feedback from the community, and it's a $15 million project, probably minimum, and it's a 50-year building. So I don't think I don't see any need to be in a hurry, so I'm fine with waiting till May for any motion. I don't know if I'd be comfortable
Well, would you
with
like
any of
to?
that today.
Mr. Mayor, I would move that the discussion on the building of the police department and courthouse be tabled until the first meeting in May.
Support.
All right. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico,
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mayor Kleinfeld,
Yes.
Councilmember Shadlick,
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Moving on to item F, approval of special land use for 22100 Gratiot without the public parking requirement. Would anyone like to make a motion? Did anyone have questions?
Well, I think on this one, if I can, I've got a lot of notes when I looked at that. So I don't know if anyone wants to jump in and correct me or anything if I'm wrong on anything, but I think, so the Planning Commission voted at their meeting, sent a recommendation to us. We voted on something that was slightly different than what they had actually recommended. And so, of course, what we voted on is what we voted on, even if it wasn't the recommendation. If we do want to fix it, obviously, we can if we would like to. But after I look back at what the Planning Commission did, I believe they're talking about modifying minutes, and I don't think they were modifying the minutes to what actually happened. And sorry, I've got all kinds of building documents all over in front of me here now. Yeah, here we go. They had voted the exact motion that's in McKenna's recommended document, And number 3 says, to be an improvement to the community, the project must designate public parking spaces and provide electrical vehicle supply equipment. Ours had like what we ended up voting on, so that's what should have been in front of city council, but it had some sort of 10% clause, but was similar to that, and we approved that. The planning commission talked about modifying their minutes to basically say that wasn't even in there, but I don't believe that's what happened. It was literally this recommended motion, and that's number 3 in they literally specified this. So if they did want to change their recommendation, I think they should have voted on something else. Otherwise, I mean, we can go forward with a different vote if we'd like. I mean, I'm fine with changing it to the language in number 3, which is slightly different than what we agreed, and I think actually there might have been 4 instead of 5. Maybe one of these was removed also, but I guess that was my, that's what I understood it all to be after I looked at it.
It was a little bit of a headache. Ms. Homan?
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Please.
Yes, it was pointed out to us by a very detailed resident who follows the meetings and provided a link to the actual motion, that what was in the memo was, and what was in the motion, the minutes for that planning commission meeting were not reflective of what was actually voted upon. So the public parking requirement was removed by the planning commission, as was a language about it was parking of inoperable vehicles and other vehicles related to the business. The other vehicles was also removed.
Can I ask real quick before you keep, about removing that, when, like at what point then? Or like when did that happen? Because I listened to the motion that was made, and it was the exact motion in McKenna's document saying motion to approve this site plan with the 5 recommendations in their memo.
The commission's motion or the council's?
Right, no, the planning, because you're talking the planning commission, you're saying the planning commission removed it. I'm saying, yeah, the planning commission's motion was, I think I followed along, the exact motion in McKenna's letter here, which refers to the 5 items above it. So when you say they removed those things, when did that happen? Was that like after or before or something?
It was during the discussion of, and the motion by the planning commission that they removed those.
At the October meeting?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure they read exactly what's, I don't believe that's true.
Well, I mean, at this point, what is the planning commission, what is their understanding that the recommendation was or is, and what do they want us to do? I mean, that's really where I want to get to. So I believe the planning commission has gone over this, and I believe what's the recommended motion now is consistent with what either they did or believe they have done, so this is what they want. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I don't know if there was, I know that sometimes we've had confusions on exactly what a motion was or something like that, but I would be okay with going forward, knowing that this is essentially the request that members thought they were sending to us or had intended to.
Okay. And I guess I think just I agree we can move forward with this, just the minutes shouldn't, I think, be changed if they're not accurate. I guess I want to make sure the minutes are accurate to what actually happened at the planning commission meeting also, I guess. But yeah, so then the recommendation today, right, we're saying is so there's 4 items now, right? So this is from, no. Well, yeah, so I guess the recommendation, is this the same kind of 4 items in that? Okay. Yeah, hold on. I gotta know what page I'm on now again. This is page 62. So then basically the change is that it doesn't have,
Condition 3.
yeah. Okay, and that's November 12th. But that's not part of it now, right? Isn't the new one not?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, the motion tonight is to approve the special land use for the property, removing the requirement that the project must designate at least 10% as public parking spaces. Council actually had caught the removal of the other vehicles in council's motion, but this part about the public parking was not, that was still involved. So that's really the minutes. Planning Commission approved the amended minutes to reflect what was actually on the record for the October 3rd meeting. And then, of course, the minutes that were reflective of council's action were accurate at that time. But then ideally, the minutes from tonight will reflect the correct special land use approval. If I may also say, we are, unfortunately, that we have this issue with McKenna's mistake. This applicant is the gravel lot on Gratiot, and he is completely out of compliance in terms of parking vehicles on that gravel lot. That was part of the special land use. He continues to get tickets and is basically ignoring everything. So I know that the building official and the city attorney are working on that.
Thank you.
Who puts these summary sheets together for the council packets?
I did this one.
Well, so I guess I just want to clarify, I don't think this was not McKenna's mistake then, because they voted on what's in McKenna's plan, and then that needed to be copied and pasted into the council summary sheet, and then there was a mistake there.
When I did the ones from the Planning Commission Special Land Use recommendation to council, I too relied on the minutes that were incorrect in the memo that was not followed.
Okay, yeah, it was not McKenna.
I'm happy to take that mistake.
Okay, so I guess my opinion, if everyone cares here, I think I like number 3 here as the old one to be an improvement to the community. The project must designate public parking spaces and provide electrical vehicle supply equipment. So I guess the recommended motion, I'll vote no, but that's my opinion.
All right, any other comments on that? Otherwise, I'm going to make a motion and see what happens. Motion to approve the special land use for 22100 Gratiot for an asphalt or concrete parking lot as approved by City Council on November 12, 2024, removing the requirement that the project must designate at least 10% as public parking spaces.
So moved.
All right, please, any other comments? Please call the roll.
Mayor Kleinfeld,
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Councilmember Shadlick,
No.
Councilmember DeMonico.
No.
All right, motion fails. We'll move on to, unless there's anyone else who wants to make a motion on that item, we'll move on. All right, we'll move on to item G, approval of recommendation of Planning Commission regarding parallel parking and angled parking drive aisle requirements. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Well, Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, since I asked for this recommendation from the Planning Commission, essentially, since we talked about the 9 Mile project with the 2 business owners, one of the 2 being in the audience right now, came about parallel parking in front of their businesses for our 9 Mile project. We talked about with our civil engineer, of course, with Mr. Kern, that we needed a couple feet of space, reducing the parallel spots from 9 to 8 would give us that space. 8's the MDOT recommended minimum. Our ordinance here is 9 feet. Way back before I asked to put this on the planning commission meeting because it's a zoning ordinance change, I look back to see if we discussed that at all when we did the huge zoning ordinance change. I don't think it was discussed at all, so I thought it was reasonable then to ask them, why don't we make it 8? Because then that's, more opportunity. People could make, if there is parallel parking, I think most of it's going to be publicly owned anyway. I don't know where there's parallel parking that's not, but it at least gives you more options. You could still make them 9 if you want, but you could also make them 8. So they recommended that we don't do that, and part of this discussion in here was that they could make a variance to it if they would like, but that is not how that would work. A business owner would not go in front of the planning commission to get a variance. They'd have to go in front of the ZBA. I believe right now it costs $400 to go in front of the ZBA. They'd have to do that, get in front of them in a meeting, get a variance to go from 9 to 8 feet, and go through all that red tape. So personally, I thought we should just go 9 to 8. Streamlines it. MDOT thinks it's safe, has, I'm sure, done plenty of studies on how much space you need for a parallel parking spot. And I think that's a summary of where we're at.
Mr.
Yeah,
Mayor,
and I don't know
I'm
that-
sorry, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Oh, go ahead.
Planning Commission, actually, their recommendation was not to change the parking requirements throughout the city. The recommendation was that administration could provide the variance for this 9-mile project for any business owners where there was an issue as it related to the parking.
Yeah, I don't know that this is actually something we would even vote on as presented to us. Essentially, it's a recommendation not to take action. So I don't know if anyone disagrees with that. I'm not sure that there's, at least in front of us today, any realistic action that we should take.
I mean, after listening to the Planning Commission's discussion on this topic, I think I just disagree with their assessment, and I think we could go forward with just changing that. Reduces red tape, I think is more positive for businesses then, and is more flexible. So I think we could motion to change that 9 feet to 8 feet for parallel parking in our ordinance, and then we do our normal, first and second reading on that, if, anyone on council's interested.
Do you want to make a motion, or are you suggesting a motion?
Sure, yeah, I guess I'd motion that city administration put together an ordinance change, a zoning ordinance change for parallel parking, to change that from 9-foot minimum to 8-foot minimum.
Support. And that would put us in compliance with MDOT's current standards, correct?
Yes, yeah, we'd be equal to MDOT's recommendation.
I wasn't sure that I wanted to take up this issue because I really didn't think it was, I don't think it's going to affect that many properties, but any other comments?
Yeah, I have a comment. I don't understand why we would try to make things more difficult for businesses. I mean, if MDOT says 8 foot is something that would make it compliant, why aren't we following that? I see it as a very simple solution, I want to encourage businesses to come into our city, not discourage them.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Shadlick?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes.
Mayor Kleinfeld?
Yes. All right, payroll and bills. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Go for it.
I would move that we approve the payment of the bills in the amount of $2,621,879.89.
I'll second that.
All right. Is there any questions for, about the payment of bills? Please call the roll.
Councilmember Shadlick?
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico?
Yes.
Councilmember Curley,
Yes.
Mayor Kleinfeld?
Yes. All right, moving on to second hearing of the public. The second hearing of the public is now open. Would anyone wish to be heard?
Okay? Mary Hall Rayford, Eastpointe. You guys just laid out quite a bit that I wanted to address, but I'm not gonna have time to do it in 3 minutes, but I'll write somebody a nice long letter, okay? However, I wanted to acknowledge the fact that I've had a really good education, especially when it comes to history. And because of that, I understand the devastation that occurred in Germany as well as Russia. So here's the definition of fascism: a far-right authoritarian and ultranationalist political ideology and movement characterized by a dictatorial leader, centralized autocracy, militarism, forceful suppression of opposition. What we can learn from history is that we don't want to repeat it, because if we ignore it, we are definitely going to see it again. I don't understand the hatred. I really don't. I'm not sure I want to understand hatred, just want it eradicated. And as long as I'm Black and getting older, I'm going to fight against the fascism, the racism, the hate. This is America. We're supposed to be one. And until we reach a place where we understand we are all equal, we are going to have problems in not only this country, but in this city, and it's not really worth it. So I stand on the fact that we do not need hate. There's a better option. It's called love and acceptance for all, for who they are. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening again. Officer, I neglected to tell you, I do follow the police department on the web. You guys are doing a good job. I think the council should give you more support and more officers. Democratic hate speech is off the charts. What we just heard, and this is a woman that you've put on the planning commission. Now, we've got a planning commission member telling her neighbors in Eastpointe, we're fascists because we voted for Donald Trump. What a ridiculous notion. If you're gonna do this, maybe I should bring up 10 or 20 people and we can all go at it about who's a fascist, who's a communist, who's a this, who's a that. This doesn't belong at a council meeting. And she doesn't belong on the planning commission. You should remove her. You cannot call your neighbors fascist and be a part of the city government. Mr. Bloom, we never got a statement on the deficit. This was one of the worst planned council meetings I've ever been to. The hour discussion on the fire department, the court, whatever, you came absolutely unprepared. You don't even know what you're talking about, so you just tabled it. You tabled the thing on Spindler Park, because you didn't know you weren't prepared. If you need a piece of property for the fire department, I would remind you, you gave an acre of land to your political buddies down at the community garden. Let's not forget that. That's an acre of land. I spell corruption, but who can prove it? That's my feeling. But this stuff about fascism, that if you vote for Donald Trump or you're a Republican, you're all full of it. And she should not be on the planning commission.
Right. Anyone else wish to be heard?
Hello, my name is Chuck Roach. I'm a business owner in the city of Eastpointe and a developer. I only caught the tail end of what you guys were discussing for the basement, and it's more cost effective to build up. I don't know all the intimate details, but planning ahead for growth is wise, but it's more economical to build up versus digging a basement, just to put it out there as an option. I don't know if you reached that plateau of height yet, but just as an option.
Thank you.
And as well, with the tax concerns, it worries me as well.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard?
Jennifer Nicholas, Eastpointe resident. I can see why people aren't lining up to be on boards and commissions. It does not seem like city council pays much attention to their recommendations. Anyways, going back to recreational marijuana, Roseville, Centerline, New Baltimore, Hazel Park, Ferndale, and Mount Clemens, they all close at 9 o'clock, 7 days a week, I believe. Detroit, Royal Oak, Utica, Berkeley, Harper Woods, they close at 10 o'clock. Back in March of 2024, Councilwoman Pashadlik first proposed recreational marijuana, mentioning that she knows doctors and lawyers that use it. At the May 7th, 2024 City Council meeting, her friend, attorney Robert Vitale from New Baltimore, spoke on the benefits to cities that adopt recreational marijuana ordinances. He's never lived or worked in Eastpointe. I can't see any connection other than his friendship with the councilwoman and also Mayor Kleinfeld. He is also friends with attorneys Aaron Geyer and Chris Aiello, who represent Moses Roses, which is one of the applicants here in the city. And he did advocate for limiting recreational licenses to the people that already had medical, which would include Moses Roses. He also stated that he would rather come to Eastpointe to buy recreational marijuana than have to go to Detroit because he believes Eastpointe is much safer than Detroit. My question is, since Detroit, the ordinance lets them stay open till 10, but some of them do close at 9, by Eastpointe being open 2 to 3 hours later than Detroit, aren't we encouraging our neighbors over in zip code 48205 to come shopping late night hours here to buy weed in Eastpointe? Is this what we're wanting to do? I spoke at the school board meeting last week because I know you talk about how you are trying to encourage young families to come here. Is having recreational marijuana available to purchase up until midnight, 4 days a week, something to attract these young families into our city? I'm not sure. I don't know why we have such a much later closing hour than any of the cities around us. I would like some feedback on that. I am asking again to add to next week's agenda.
You have 30 seconds.
An amendment to the hours that you voted on. And go back to, at the very least, what these attorneys asked for. They asked to be open till 10 p.m. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and 11 p.m. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Again, I don't know who else other than maybe Councilwoman Pashadlik goes out and shops for marijuana at midnight on a Sunday night, but I don't think that it's appropriate for our family town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Kleinfeld, council members, audience. Gary Sasek, Eastpointe resident, chairman of the Parks Commission. I want to thank you for approving the receiving of the grant money for Kennedy. And I would hope that at a future meeting, we can receive the grant money for Spindler because those are well-needed appointments that needed to be done. The lighting on the path, the ADA accessible stuff. And we're going to be bringing some other things for you for future consideration. So I just want you to know we're moving forward again, and thank you again.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard? Anyone else? Seeing none, the second hearing of the public is closed. We'll move on to mayor and council reports. Councilman Curley.
Thank you. I don't know. There's a lot in my heart to talk about, but I'm not going to. I watch the news like anybody else does, and I form an opinion like everybody else does. I'm sad that this country is mad at each other. I don't know why. They're angry, they're upset, they're frightened, and I would just hope that some way or another that we can come together again like we did back 30 or 40 years ago. I don't like the things that are going on either. I've been a Democrat all my life, and I think the Democrats are just as patriotic as the Republicans are. So I get offended when somebody tells me, because I'm a Democrat, that I don't have the country in my heart, and I do. So, having said that, and having said that I'm in extreme pain because I have 3 ribs that are broken, we have a closed session to go to, and so you guys go home, enjoy yourself. It's only 9 o'clock. You can watch MSNBC if you want, or CNN News, or whatever, or watch, I don't know, some comedy. Amen.
Great. Councilman DeMonico.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, welcome again, Elke. I know I said it earlier, but welcome. Let's see, a few things that have been mentioned throughout the meeting. I guess I'll just kind of go in order of my notes here. First and second readings were brought up. The first and second readings, to me, the biggest reason to do it is so that it's on at least 2 agendas to make a major change. That's for the ordinances. Resolutions don't need a first and second reading, but those do not change the actual laws of the city of Eastpointe. But also at those first and second readings, amendments can be made and they're discussed. And of course, some things you'll have more time than others for the community to consider. I mean, we've been talking about, though, medical and recreational marijuana for, I think, more than 7 years. So we've had plenty of time to talk about a lot of that. Some other things were, I don't know, there was mentioned that there's a double layer of government. I'd say, first of all, the legislative branch of the government costs the taxpayers almost nothing. If you're not aware, actually tomorrow, I invite you, I won't be there, but I'll invite you out to the Local Officers Compensation Commission. They decide, they make a recommendation on pay for city council, but basically it ends up being, there's a base and then a certain amount per meeting, so it'll be slightly different if a council member's missed a meeting or not, but we make each about $5,000 or $6,000 a year. So the entire legislative branch of government, that plus a little money to do training and a few other things is somewhere, I don't know if Mr. Blum knows off the top of his head, probably somewhere between $50,000 and $75,000 for the entire city council per year. So I think that's like probably 0.1% of our budget or something like that. Then we're the ones directly, of course, elected by the wonderful people of Eastpointe, and then we hire a professional city manager, and we've hired Elke Doom or Mariah Walton and others, and then they run the city day to day. each branch. I think there's checks and balances, and they both are important, so I don't believe there's any sort of double layer to the city government. So, yeah, what's going on federally also, I guess, well, I guess first I'd like to say if someone is saying what's going on right now is fascism, which I believe we've got a situation where the executive branch is not listening to court orders, and that's unprecedented as far as I understand. That is an issue, but I don't believe that means anybody that supported either candidate for office is also a fascist. I think that's an important difference to make, because then I think that is how we, I guess, as council. Different, did the audio sounded weird for a second there? Okay. Thought it was just me. Turn 9 o'clock maybe. Do we shut? We've all, 9 o'clock, we're shutting down. So I guess I just want to bring that up because, you know, everyone's got different ideas on things. You know, let's try to talk them out. That's why we're here. And I guess gets to the point too of it was brought up that this council meeting was messy. Well, the only time the 5 of us, or, you know, 4 of us, I guess today, talk as a group is right here in front of all of you. We can't meet outside of here. So we can't answer every question and all that. We need to bring it up here. So that's why maybe it seems messy. Actually, I thought it went pretty well. I thought we had certainly messier meetings in the past. But yeah, I guess that's my thoughts on all of that. Thank you all for coming. Oh, and wonderful idea on the third story instead of a basement. Maybe I'd like to request that be part of the consideration for the basement for the building. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I'd like to congratulate now to non-hearing of the public items. Congratulate Dwayne Sylvester of Hair Creation Studio Salon for winning the Business Impact Award at the Black Excellence Awards. And also our County Commissioner, Sarah Lucido, and I stopped by his business because we were just stopping by a bunch of businesses in the city to see if they were interested in participating in the Memorial Day Parade. And he has signed up, so his business will be in the parade. So that's a brand new group in the parade. So that was pretty cool. Talked to him for a few minutes. If anyone else knows a business that's interested or a group, let us know, let me know. If anyone's interested in donating, a few people have donated, but we're always looking for more to cover the services of our wonderful police department and DPW because taxpayer dollars don't fund the Memorial Day Parade. Just let me know. We've got a couple meetings left before. If you go to acfvo.com, it's got a list of all the meetings on there. And then also, I don't know if our deputy chief's giving blood, because I know we've got the blood drive on Friday. We got to get more Eastpointers to give blood than Roseville. So if you've given blood before, I don't know if there's still spots, I guess. I don't know. Look, if I'm sure there is. They'll take your blood if you show up, I'm pretty sure. Show up, I'll be giving blood. So hopefully we get more Eastpointe people out and we can beat Roseville in that. And then if you're around Saturday, I thought this was super cool. The Shamrock Jazz Orchestra is playing at Andiamo's with Danny Serafine from Chicago. So they're playing with a member of Chicago. I thought that was pretty crazy. So if you can make that, go out, look them up on Facebook or online, find all the details on that. And then I was gonna talk a little bit about the MML Capital Convention, but maybe since I've talked too much tonight already, maybe I'll just copy and paste those to next meeting and, and talk about it with you next Tuesday. But yeah, that's all, Mr. Mayor.
All right, Councilwoman Pashadley.
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback on the blood drive as well. So if we are able to donate, as many residents who can should show up. It's for a good cause. And I'd like to thank everyone who serves on our commissions and boards. I know that that's a dedication, and I do appreciate your service to our community on those commissions. And we have a couple members right in the audience here, and I'd like to commend them both, Mr. Sasek and, of course, Ms. Mary Hall Rayford. Thank you. I'd also like to mention, I know it's difficult driving down 9 Mile with the construction, but please keep in mind, and Gratiot as well, please keep in mind that we do need to support our local businesses. So if you could continue to just drive slowly, safely, and continue to patronize those businesses, it would be very much appreciated. The 9 Mile project is going to be lengthy, and I would hate for people to go to other businesses. Please continue to support them and just be patient in your driving. And that's all I have today.
All right, I'm just going to say welcome again to Ms. Doom. And I echo pretty much most of the sentiments, or all the sentiments from the other council members, but I'll leave it at that. I know Harvey is being a trooper getting through this meeting, so I just want to keep going. With that, I will entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to MCL 15.268. Would anyone like to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes.
Councilmember Curley.
Yes.
Councilmember DeMonico.
Yes.
Mayor Kleinfeld.
Yes.
Councilmember Shadlick.
Yes.
All right, going into closed session at 9:06 p.m.